Here we go then, another in-session video. First of all, hope we're all doing lovely jubbly. So, this lake is part of the club that I've recently joined. I must admit, I have tried this lake for a few times now. This isn't the first time that I've fished it. So far, there's been 6 blanks and I've lost a fish in a peg that's to the far right of the screen. That whole bank there's no swims along there, so the fish really do hold up. And yeah, it was a bit unfortunate the hook pulled after about 3 seconds. But nonetheless, we're here again today for 24 hours. So let me tell you a little bit about the lake. So this is actually rumoured to go to 70 foot in places. I've only marked down to about 25. So my approach, I have to say, is a big shout out to Max Bradby. For all you carp guys, you may know him as part of the DNA Baits team. He fished here quite regularly when Caps first took this water on and done really well. He actually had 16 out in what I believe is a 24-hour session, which was phenomenal. Now, he is a good angler and he's only 17 and a half, and he's a bit of a whiz kid when it comes to carp fishing. But, you know, not to downgrade him, but it was easy when the club took it on. So it's progressively got harder because it was the stock pond for the adjoining lake on this complex. But there's a bit about the depth, so it varies. So steep shelves, steady slopes, and you've got to find them little bars, them little top of the shelves, them flat surfaces, flat hard, you got to find them flat hard bottoms to really lay a bait on. And it's around 7 wraps out here, so it's not a long chuck. If you wanted to get to the other side, we estimate it's around 30-35 wraps, which is not impossible, but the fish do run along that shelf that I've positioned all 3 rods on. Now, previously, I've been spomming out particle, hemp, corn, and fishing like that. And when I was talking to Max, I met him the last time I fished here over the bank holiday, and he was so open and honest about his tactics and what he has found works well here. Generally on these swims at least, he does away with any particle bait because he's right. If there's a strong wind on here, the undertow, your bait's going to get swept down that long shelf, past where I've positioned my rods, where it goes down to 20 foot plus. So he advised last time to go straight boilie approach, fish. He personally fishes for a night session with 2.5 kg of boilie. And he obviously, being DNA Baits, uses the bug. So he said it works really well. He said try to avoid anything light coloured. He generally says fish the bottom baits that you're feeding. Whereas I've so far fished a lot of coloured baits. I did lose the fish on a salty squid wafter, which is obviously pink. Most of you probably know that bait very well. And I had been fishing like snowman fluoros and all sorts, but never actually sort of matched the hatch as it were, or fished the bottom baits that I was feeding. So I questioned more. I said, do you tend to glug your baits, make it more appealing than what you're feeding? He said, no, just fish literally straight out of the bag. So that's what I've done this time. So I've marked up, found that ledge, and got the marker float out, and first of all started off catapulting. I didn't go as heavy. I went with 1 kg-ish of mostly the bug and a little bit of sauce as well, because brown baits work well here, and they're both brown. I thought, do you know what I mean? We'll put 2 on the DNA baits and we'll put 1 on the sauce and see how we get on anyway. So I was there for about 2 hours. Set it up properly. And I was actually editing this video, and all of a sudden, this happened. You know the phrase, speak of the devil? Well, that's actually Max. He was on the swim next door, helping his friends spom out floaters to that far bank. And they were doing a couple of hours of floater fishing, and his mate actually caught his PB, and they were only there 2 hours. Okay, so not the biggest carp in the world, and certainly not the biggest carp in that lake. Below average, that fish. But first fish meant so much. I was chuffed to bits, like it was my first ever fish. The scales, well, they turned around and said it was 29, and I said to Max, that ain't 29. It appears my digital scales are faulty, so I know what my next purchase will be. But, you know, looking at that fish, what a cracking fish that is, one to watch for the future. And I'm going to leave you with this beautiful sunrise and these cygnets that are not long hatched, because that was it for the whole session. But many more coming up, so if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate you watching, and tight lines on your next session.